Yeah.
All right, if y'all are tuned in, we are back with another Changing Channels. I am Caitlin Leggett, and I am here with.
Reuben Vincent, 704's finest, the boy, Martin Luther King, Reuben Vincent Van Gogh, Reuben Vince Carter, whatever you want to call me, man.
You heard it all. You heard it all. And we starting early, so I want to thank you for stopping in to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump into it. You started off perfect. Big 704, right?
Absolutely, all day, east side.
Okay, so you are from Charlotte, North Carolina. Talk to me a little bit about your upbringing here in Charlotte.
Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, of course. In an African home, Liberian descent. My mom is from Liberia, and my father is from Liberia. They didn't. My mom and dad was never together, but both of their houses are very Liberian cultured. So even when I used to go to my pop's crib on the weekend, you know what I'm saying, he cleaning up, he playing African music. My mom, when I'm at her crib and she telling me to clean up, she playing African music. And then I step outside and I'm embracing all the hip hop culture from my homies, my older cousins. I was real. The way I could say I was in school, at least, I was real observant. You know what I mean? I was quiet, but I was also, people knew who I was because I always been, passionate about music. So if you know me from elementary school to middle school to like high school, you're not even surprised that I'm doing what I'm doing now, because even though I was quiet, people knew me because when that mic came on, that's when the big voice came out. You know what I'm saying? But I've seen it all, from the good and bad in Charlotte. You know what I mean? Just being a good kid in the city. But you grow up and you got friends and you get peer pressure and all that stuff. We all go through the same thing. So, I had to go through a little bit of that, a little bit of growing pains. And then I went off to college for a year and I was studying business IT at A&T. Then COVID happened. I started doing back online. And then I signed my deal like middle of my junior year. So now we here, Roc Nation.
Come on with the rundown. And that's actually crazy because shout out to my boy Braden Dixon. He actually, I asked him about you. I was like, what can you tell me about him? And he was like, if that's one thing about him right there, he is dedicated to the craft.
Yeah, shout out Braden, man. That's my dog. Hey, we used to call him Russell Westbrook on the bus when we used to be joning on the bus. That's another thing. Like, though I was quiet when I was around my homies on the bus, we used to always be cracking jokes, roasting each other, working each other. And Braden was one of my homies, man. Right off the east on Harrisburg, right near the Red Sea. So if you know, you know.
We love that. We love that. Okay, so coming up in the city, I want to keep going into the upbringing. Coming up in Charlotte, I have family on the outskirts of Charlotte, right? But when I came up, I didn't realize that Charlotte was like a city, until I got grown. Like it took me literally maybe like 2 years ago was the first time I'd actually come into the city of Charlotte. So talk to me a little bit about that big city culture, but also in like an area like North Carolina, because North Carolina is a little different than Atlanta or LA and all of that.
Right. One thing I can say about Charlotte is a big melting pot. You got people, like you said, coming from Atlanta, and then you got people coming from up north in New York, moving down here. And a lot of people, it's surprising to meet people who say they were born in Charlotte. You know what I mean? So it's like you get a lot of different culture over here, but we have our own culture. And I think people are starting to finally get a taste of that. You know what I'm saying? With the new upcoming artists, and basketball has been going crazy lately, the sports, and just, Charlotte has been growing because a lot of people come here to raise their families. You know what I'm saying? So, and then on the flip side too is like, I don't think people really magnify the regions in Charlotte, the east side of Charlotte, the west side, the north side, south side. Like, it's all different regions, but we all put Charlotte on our back. But if you were a person from Charlotte, people want to know what side of Charlotte you from. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a difference. It's definitely a difference, and that takes away from none of the sides. You know what I mean? But somebody telling you they from East Charlotte is gonna be you're gonna get a different type of feel of a person than somebody that is from West Charlotte or North Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you have people who was from one side but then ended up moving to the other side. Like, I ended up moving to the south side, like in the middle of high school. And it was like a culture shock for me, especially going to Myers Park, where it was like a predominantly white school. You know what I mean? So it was just like, whoa. And I kind of closed myself in and was just tapped in on the music, you know what I mean, because of that. But, I always missed the east side. Even when I was on the south, I was like, man, like all my homies back to even the Braden thing. But, one thing I can say about Charlotte, it is an immense culture and it's finally starting to get its flowers.
I definitely feel that. And I think, I don't know, I guess everybody has their own thing like that. But I feel like North Carolina, we rep hoods and where you from harder than anybody else.
Oh, for sure.
Like to the fact that I have 919 tatted on me. And when I say
yeah.
919, I mean the Bull City. Don't come talking about Raleigh is the 919.
Right.
And when I say I'm from Durham, I'm from the East. And in every picture, I'm throwing it up. Like,
right. Exactly. We do the same thing. Every time somebody tell me, when people ask if I'm from Charlotte, majority of the time I'm going to say East Charlotte. If you in Charlotte, I'm going to say East Charlotte. If we out and we like, I'm in LA or something, I'm going to definitely just say Charlotte. But we home, I'm throwing up East 2 times. You know what I mean? So you definitely right. Even to the point of like, man, when we go to these college parties, they like, what's your area code? 704, you throwing up 919, all that. So, you know what I'm saying? We definitely rep our hood strong for sure.
So thinking about where that comes from, a lot of that is about that bond and about that community that you have from the people that's from your side of town, that's from your city, that's from your state. Talk to me a little bit about the community that you have as far as your music, as far as, coming up, like who was supporting you, who was pushing you, all of that.
The people who was definitely helping me in the city was my family. My tribe, coming from a Liberian descent, a lot of my cousins, we first generation. So, we really just shout out to T-Law, which pushing, Big P4K, shout out Abdul, shout out so many, man. I can name so many cousins, Trail, Melvin, everybody. But then also I had real close-knit cousins to me, like my cousin Nuke, who's like my road dog now and who takes all my pics. My other cousin Samar, who done moved to Atlanta, but he was on the camera as well. Like, and then on the flip side, ironically, I ended up building a community out of Charlotte, going off to Raleigh. When I met Ninth Wonder, you know what I'm saying, when I was younger, and him kind of taking me in, Rap City taking me in, everybody on Jamla kind of taking me in as they little bro and kind of helping me, just polish my skill and just give me a place to record. Because at the time I didn't have nowhere to record. I was recording off Apple headphones. You feel me? Like,
hey, it's the grind.
Exactly. You gotta start somewhere. So, them giving me a place to record just like helped me hone in on my sound and who I was as an artist, not just as an artist, but as a person. So, I built that community, but now I got my own community as well, which something me and my cousin Nuke has built with my other boy Johnny Kane, which is my DJ, which is also, he's a crazy designer. He got his own brand going, but we got this thing we got right now called Third World that we just trying to take and expand as a brand, you know what I mean? And I feel like we gonna do that. And it just, Third World just means being rebels with a cause, and, obviously all of our parents come from a third world country, but it's deeper than that. And I feel like we looking at the world in a third perspective, and you don't even have to be from a third world country to represent third world, because if you from the hood, you definitely from a third world country too. You know what I mean? So it's like, we just trying to take that on our back and, just be rebels with a cause and stand for coming from nothing and making it into something. So,
Okay. I like that. So you brought up Ninth Wonder and how music really started to, provide to be fruitful for you. Talk to me a little bit about how that process went.
So when I was 13 years old, I had put out a mixtape called Idolescent, which was like the play on adolescent, putting the idol in the beginning. And I put it out, and like I said, the quality was terrible, but I was still trying to get it. And I was emailing all of my favorite producers, and the last person I was going to email was Ninth, but I was like, nah, he would never see it, because ironically, the producers I was emailing, the emails all ended up being fake.
And it was like bouncing back and stuff?
Yeah, so I was like, oh man, there ain't no point. So ironically, like a week later, somebody from Oakland, California, named Mr. Drake on Twitter and Instagram. I still talk to him today, but his real name is Milan. But he tweeted Ninth and was like, yo, I don't know this kid from nowhere. I don't have a dog in this fight. You need to check him out. And for the fact that that person didn't know me and did that, I can just say that was God, bro. Because like I said, I was about to email him, but then I was like, man, I was losing hope because all the emails I was getting back was fake.
I feel
so
that.
I was like, man, forget it. I'm just gonna go be a kid. And literally a week later, somebody gonna tweet him and be like, yo, he in North Carolina, you need to go check this kid out. And he just so happened to be off tour. You know what I'm saying? Not really, he was still on tour, but he had an off day. And he just so happened to be on Twitter. He clicked on it and he liked what he heard, and he heard the potential. So he was like, I want you to come down to my studio in Raleigh. And then I went down to the studio and I did like 9 songs in 3 days. You know what I mean? I was hungry. So, I just really,
I just needed a platform.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like I really just took that opportunity and I ran with it. You know what I mean? Because it was like, it's all or nothing right now. You know what I'm saying? So I did that. And then I just kept going, being annoying, blowing up his Twitter. Yo, when can I come back? And, eventually he started bringing me back around. And then as I got older, he was just giving me a place to record at first. But as I got older and he saw the hunger and the drive that I had, he ended up signing me when I was like 16, 17 years old. So he took me under his wing. And, I started working. And then we here where we at now, so.
That's crazy. And I liked something that you said in between there where you were talking about the persistence of just talking to him. I know sometimes, like even in my field and a lot of people that I know, that want to go into entertainment, it's kind of hard because it's like you just kind of need that break, right?
Right.
And you don't ever want to come off as, like reaching your hand out. You
Right.
don't want to be the one to be bothering somebody. People are prideful. I myself am prideful.
Right.
But it's also at the same time, it's like, I just need a platform.
Right. Right. Sometimes you gotta, hey man, don't be annoying, because I was definitely being annoying. and being 13, I didn't see it because I was a kid. And I had to realize like this man got kids and he's a teacher as well as a producer, and he got a lot on his plate. And I'm just some kid just hungry. But persistence is key, not even just in the sense of like, blowing them up, but like if you have somebody who's following you and checking your stuff out, you know what I'm saying, show them that you hungry by doing the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that he started hitting me up because he's seeing me, move around and just doing stuff on my own, and he's seeing that, okay, I'm not waiting for Knife to, get me to do this and do that. You know what I'm saying? And then just being able to consistency also in, figuring it out. You know what I mean? And always wanting to be in the studio, always working on new music, new content, figuring it out. And, none of us really have it figured out. Even the biggest artists that you're looking at now, they probably don't have it figured out, but they figuring out as they go. You know what I'm saying? As you continue, the process is going to continue to, elevate. So I think definitely the persistency and the consistency and the discipline is what he saw. And I think he took admire to that.
That's crazy. So, okay, moving forward.
Yeah.
From there to Roc Nation.
Man, shoot, man. Honestly, I don't even know how to explain it. I feel like for me, the rock thing came at a place. A lot of my moments, I feel like, come at a pivotal moment where it's like all right, you either go this way or you go this way. You know what I mean? And it's like with the rock thing, I was kind of on the edge and not really wanting to finish school, just being honest. And because I already knew what I wanted to do. I already knew I wanted to do music, and I feel like, man, I was just on school wasting time, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So it was like I either go back to school and fully just finish, or I can really show my people and show everybody I can do with this music thing. And it just so happened I had took a leap of faith, and we put out a State of Mind video, put out the music video, and the Roc saw it because, I had took a meeting with them earlier in the year, played them a couple of the music, but like you said, they want to see the work. They want to see the persistency, and they saw it, and they was like, man, this kid ready. So they called Knife up and was like, we want to sign him. And, that was last year. I was still working a job, and I had just literally clocked out, like literally locked the door, clocking out, about to go to the whip, and I get a call from Knife like, yo, they want to sign you, man. So it was just crazy. And then, obviously we had to do the right paperwork. Did the right paperwork, and then, by December I signed my deal, And, you know, we just been hitting the ground running ever since. You know, I went out to LA for a couple months, tapped in with Young Guru, you know, worked on this incredible album that I'm about to put out. And we just like, this whole year has been a lot of stuff, different freestyles, you know, did the hip hop awards, went on tour Pusha, you know what I'm saying, just plugging me in and letting people know that, you know what I'm saying, I'm one of the new artists and the new faces of the Roc. So, you know, we just trying to end the year out strong and then just go into next year with a lot more oomph and a lot more fire and, you know, just some more product to give to the people.
So you talked about kind of like taking that leap of faith, right? And like choosing between those crossroads. And it's crazy because I just watched an interview with Ari Lennox and she was talking about something similar, how she had literally just gotten her first job. It was like her highest paying job at maybe like $10 an hour.
Right.
But that was the most she had been paid at that point.
Right.
And she...
Dang, that's crazy.
Right. But she got the job and then like the next day was when she got tapped in with Cole and I want to say Omen. Right. And it was a matter of like, okay, well, I just got this job, but they want me to come out here. And it's no guarantee that, you know, like, you know, it's trusting the process, trusting God, trusting faith and everything. But at the same time, like, you don't know how everything is going to pan out. So talk to me a little bit about taking that leap of faith, like how you choose to do that.
That's the thing, like you said, none of this is ever really guaranteed. Even to the point of me signing a deal, it's like none of this is guaranteed. It's all on you at the end of the day. You got to take accountability of your life. But the one thing you can't do is be afraid to take risks. Right. Because you never know what risk can put you. You know, a lot of people are scared of risk and they feel like risk is a thing. They're like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, nah, like you got to take a risk if you want to get somewhere in life because risk, the risk takers is the ones that end up being the game changers. You know what I mean? So I had to take that risk. And, you know, a lot of people told me not to. You need to go back to school, finish school. You putting all your eggs in one basket. And you can't listen to everybody else's opinions because they might love you, but they might not know what's for you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And they might be, I know everybody wants your best interest, but they don't know. You got to follow that gut feeling. You know what I'm saying? And I had that gut feeling that, you know, this was the right decision and this was the right label for me. I remember when I was a kid and seeing Jay-Z on Fade to Black, and I was like, man, that dude look like a superhero to me. And I was like, man, if I could ever sign a deal with somebody, it would be The Roc. And for it to manifest, now that I'm older, it was like, you know, it's God giving me the things that I asked for as a kid. So why would I not reach out there and grab it? Right. You know what I'm saying? And take that leap of faith. And it has been, the road is going to be bumpy. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing is ever going to be an easy road and nothing good ever comes easy. Right. But if you don't take that leap of faith, then you just going to be I'm going to be sitting back at that job that I was at, or I'll be sitting at school wishing that I was in the place I am now.
Right. No, that's real important, especially like the idea of believing in yourself, because at the end of the day, like it's you, like when it's all said and done. So I know you brought up like looking up to Jay-Z, and I see like I hear it in a lot of your music, some of, I want to say, the older rappers that maybe influence you. Talk to me a little bit about that influence.
Hove is definitely a big influence of mine. Andre 3000, Nas, Biggie, Pac. But I'm also a student of like the Waynes of the world. You know what I'm saying? I study Drake. I study Kendrick Lamar. I study J. Cole. You know what I mean? Those are people that I could say that, you know, influence me, as well as a Stevie Wonder, a Michael Jackson, a Sade, or even jazz artists like Roy Ayers and Ronnie Laws. Like I'm just a music head. You know what I mean? And I really love the music. And I think one thing people have yet to find out about me is how deep my musicality goes in my own music as well. Like, you know, and I kind of, it's my fault because I was so big on like when I come in, I want people to know that I can be like one of the best rappers, period. So, you know, I'm going there, I'm going through all these freestyle circuits, you know, doing all these freestyles and stuff, but I don't want to pigeonhole myself to that because I know how much more musicality I have in me, whether because I produce as well. You know, I can write. You know, I'm melodic as well. You know, I have all these different avenues to me that people have yet to see yet, but I feel like they're gonna see as more as my career blossoms. You know what I mean? But those are definitely some of my influences, especially Jay-Z and freaking Outkast. Not even just Andre 3000, but Big Boy as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially Outkast. Like, they're probably one of my biggest influences.
Being with Roc Nation has given you a lot of opportunities. You've, at this point, like, been around a lot of your idols,
Right.
kind of,
Right.
with Kendrick Lamar, all of that, et cetera, et cetera. So talk to me a little bit about this idea of, you know, how Cole has the song False Prophets, right?
Right.
And Never Meet Your Heroes, that whole idea. And sometimes we forget that celebrities, these people that we look up to, are people too.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about, you know, has that statement kind of held up, or has it been disproven? How have those experiences been?
I mean, for me, I feel like the reason why none of that really fazed me is because I kind of knew what I was getting to. Ninth already kind of prepared me that people are just human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to a point that I've met everybody that I wanted to meet where it sounds crazy, I really don't care about who is who anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, you just another person. It just so happens you might have a different financial ability than me, or you might have a different status than me, and maybe the outside world might look at that a certain way. But at the end of the day, none of that really matter. We all bleed at the end of the day. That sounds dark, but it's the truth. You know, that's where I've gotten it to, because Kendrick was one of the first artists that I did meet. And I met him when I was 18, before I even signed to the Roc, when I was just traveling around with Knife. And then I met Cole, then I met Hove, then I met, you know, a few other people. And those are the people that I wanted to meet. But even when I met them, I was just like, they just regular people at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got on cool clothes and you got money, and you know what I'm saying, and you make great music. You know, I'm not taking that away from them. But at the end of the day, we are human, man. And at the end of the day, when we all are 6 feet below, we can't bring none of this with us.
Right.
And, you know, it sounds crazy, but it's like, you know, we put people so much on a pedestal, but not even just stuff on a pedestal. We put accolades and lists and, you know, awards on a pedestal. But really, man, none of that really matters at the end of the day, man. It's about who you are as a person. It's about, you know what I'm saying, feeding your family, protecting your family. That's how I look at it, man. I've gotten to a point where I do still want to be one of the greatest, because I know the effort and the stuff I put in here. But I've stopped caring about any of that stuff, because it's like, why? You know what I'm saying? What's the point? Why am I breaking my back for y'all to be like, oh, I need to get this and need to get that? And it's like, you know, I'm here to make as enough bread as I can, take care of my family, and then be able to be financially free enough to take care of my family, but also artistically free enough to do whatever I want. You know what I'm saying? And those are the two things that I'm trying to reach after right now. And everything else is just an icing on the cake. And not saying I won't be lit if I get a Grammy, or if I do get all these different things. I'm going to be hype about it. But at the end of the day, I don't want to let those things jade me from feeling like I'm not a success because I didn't get any of it.
And I think that's super grounding for a person as well, just to have that foundation and to know that ultimately, like, at the end of the day, it really is just me.
Right.
And I think, like, even the past couple of years, like, have proven how it's really more about, you know, is this music that you're making fulfilling you? Is it fulfilling you, as well as putting food on your table, as well as, you know, the people around you? Are you taking care of yourself? But also, are you able to, you know, the people around you eating too?
Right.
Like, are you all able to create these opportunities to fulfill yourselves? Because ultimately, like, stuff like the Grammys, like, we see who they vote for.
Right.
So we know it's not really based on all the time, like, and that's not to take away from anyone who does have a Grammy, but we see that a lot of the times it's not about how good the music is or the quality of the music as a whole.
Right.
It's politics and other things in that. So I think that's really important for people not to get too wrapped up in that.
Yeah, it's just numbers at the end of the day. All of this is really just numbers and algorithm, and that's another thing. I feel like labels and people in these corporate places tell you, oh, you got to follow the algorithm because they saw somebody else blow up on TikTok. But if you look at the biggest artists along all landscapes, whether it's Adele or Beyonce or Rihanna or Kendrick Lamar or Jay-Z or whoever, it's like they're not using the same things that y'all telling us we have to use to be quote unquote big. It is really, it's no rules at the end of the day. It's all numbers and it's all, like you said, politics and algorithm at the end of the day. Just do what fulfills you. And I think that's what's missing, is because everybody's trying to chase a certain algorithm and a certain number. And it's like we're running on this hamster wheel and it's not fulfilling nobody.
No, that's crazy, especially being that, like, I also work in social media. So it's like I have to be conscious of, like, yeah, like, ultimately at the end of the day, like, my job is to get numbers,
Right.
like the analytics. But it's also like we put out quality work. So my job is also to put out that quality work and not let one wash out the other.
Right.
So let's think about the quality work that you are putting out. Talk to me a little bit about how that writing process looks like.
Man, it changes, man. I used to write all the time. Well, I still write all the time. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, but sometimes I do get in my head because, like, if I don't write for a couple of days, and I need to learn how to be cool when not working on music, because I've gotten to a point where if I don't create something for a couple of days, I feel like I'm slacking. Like, even today, I was talking to my boy because I pulled up to the studio for like good 20 minutes just to go get something from him. And he was like, man, you ain't been in here in like a couple of days. He was like, but that's good. Like, give yourself a breather. I was like, no, bro. Like, I was sitting down, laying in my bed, like, man, I ain't write nothing. I'm slacking. But, it depends. It all depends. I might hear a beat and I might go in and do a whole bunch of flows and mumbles and then go fill in the words later. Or I might just sit down and, like, actually write something and, like, construct something. Or I might just do it off the top of my mind and just, whatever comes out freely, that ends up being what I end up using, you know what I mean? So it just all varies and depends. But right now, I'm really writing-wise, I'm trying to expand myself and trying to see how I can stretch myself as a writer and, kind of go into more deeper detail with what I talk about and, which I already do, but, I want to do it in a different way now and, try to challenge myself as a writer. Because Frank Ocean is one of my favorite writers, and the way he writes is incredible. And, Nas is too. There's other people. Stevie Wonder is another one that I've been, like, just studying his penmanship for a little bit now. And it just makes me just want to challenge myself a little bit more.
And I think now is definitely the time to, whatever, as far as you said you produce as well, as far as, like, the actual tracks versus, like, your lyrics, all of that. I think now is the perfect time to, experiment because we see it. Like, we see Drake getting into, the other styles of music. We see Beyonce taking on house music and everybody's coming in and dominating in it.
Right.
So it's absolutely the perfect time to do so. So I also think something that you said about, like, being okay and giving yourself grace to not always be working on music. I think sometimes people forget that when you turn your craft into a job, it's no longer just the craft,
Right.
It holds a different weight. It's more pressure. It's a different meeting. It's no longer you're just doing this for fun. Like, you actually have some pressure on that. And I think it's definitely important to find that balance between, okay, like, this is also my love. This is my first love at this. But at the same time, to keep curating and fulfilling that love, there needs to be space given.
Right.
So
you're right.
I know that you have a couple of different projects out. And on one of them, you have a song called If I Die.
Yeah.
So, I ain't gonna read your lyrics, but just looking at some of your lyrics, I see some of the influence from these artists that we kind of spoke on. But I want you to talk to me about how you make your lyrics your own. Like, where do you pull from as far as writing?
I pull from life experiences, honestly, like, especially what I've been doing, the music I've been doing now, and even back then, it's been a lot of me just grasping from my life experience. And one thing I used to do in the past that I stopped doing now is I used to be very cryptic with stuff because I was like, oh, this is a life experience that happened to me, and I want to keep it personal to me. So I'm not really going to go into detail on the song, but I'm going to just say a little bit enough that I at least know what I'm talking about. And, you know, I've been learning to just get more vulnerable and get more personal. And you hear that on the new album. But, like, for If I Die example, I had watched this movie called Blind Spotted, which I don't know if you've seen. But to kind of sum it up, it was about, you know, different classism, racism, and, you know, police brutality all in one. And it was just talking about, you know, how somebody might get judged for just having the color of their skin being black. And so the song If I Die, it wasn't me even being like, oh, if I die, da-da-da, but it was like, dang, like, as a young black man, these are things I have to think about, because if I step outside, I might have to go through this with a police officer, you know what I'm saying? Or I might have to go through this with somebody who look just like me, because we, you know, psychology wise, we're in this survival mode, and we're in this place of, oh, that person looks just like me, I hate myself, I have to kill him, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was just me, you know, writing out my frustration from that, but it came from real life experiences and real life emotions. And I that's another thing too, not just real life experiences, but emotions that I feel when, you know, whether I see something or whether I'm a part of something, you know, I think my music, I that's how I pull from, whether it could be a happy emotion or a very frustrated. Shoot, my bad. Freaking, yo, that just threw me off.
It's okay.
Nah, but yeah, it all is emotion at the end of the day. And one thing I do is I go off feeling. You know, I can't just write to a beat and just try to write, because if I don't feel nothing, then it's not gonna be done. So, you know, when I write, I think I pull from life experiences. I could be having a conversation with a younger person, or like somebody who's like 12 years old, and looking at the innocence in them, not even 12, maybe even like a 6-year-old, and talking to them and hearing the innocence in their voice and the innocence in their thoughts, it could inspire me to write something, you know what I'm saying, about wanting to go back to that innocence as a 21-year-old young man, you know what I mean? And I have those experiences. Or, you know, I might be with a shorty, you know what I'm saying, and then that lingers into an experience about a song with shorty, and even to the point of I'm very observant, you know what I'm saying, especially if I have a long conversation with you and I'm around you and I'm seeing your different actions in different ways. So even to the point of like where I might be talking to a shorty and she's like, I'm seeing some of the issues she's dealt with as a child, how it reflects in her, how she loves people. And then I might talk about that in the record, you know what I'm saying? So really just being aware is how I, you know, pull lyrically.
And life experience is really the best teacher.
Facts.
Like that's some of the hardest lines, the hardest bars is like most personal to people. And that really
Facts.
goes for anything.
That's a fact.
So, you know, we've been chopping it up, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I want you to let everybody know what's coming up for you as far as, you know, project shows, where we can keep up with you, all of that.
I got a new album that's coming out on the way. I can't give a date just yet, but it's called Love is War. It's a very personal album to me. It's you know, very vulnerable. I think my most vulnerable record to date. I got a show out in Raleigh tomorrow at the Poorhouse. Today is November 9th, and then there's one November 10th. This interview might not even be out by that time, but it's all good.
We're going to try to get the clips out by then. We
I
try to get
bet. But nah, yeah. We definitely try to tour more next year. And, man, I just want to continue to make great music, man. Make great music and other ways I could be artistically freeing. That's my goal. I don't care about I don't care about, you know, like I said, being this and that anymore. I've proven myself enough to know that I'm nice. You're not gonna get on this microphone and you know what I'm saying, not go toe to toe with me and not know that it's gonna come with some repercussions. That's already there. But you know, I'm here more so to just make great art and make great music, and I want people when they press play, they could press play from top to bottom, and that's my goal. And not even just in that, I want to get into, you know, film. I want to get into, you know, fashion and, you know, all these other creative places. And, you know, I'm just a creative, so that any way that's y'all gonna start seeing me in that, and creative ways that make sense to me. So you can follow me on the gram at Reuben Vincent. That's ReubenVincent, and my Twitter is the same thing with an underscore.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.